Hello everybody, welcome to Mr. Smelly's Fragrance Reviews. There are two ways to get an ultra-realistic pineapple fragrance that lasts all day on your skin. One is to use pineapple vintage, and this is the other. Stop. Hello everybody, welcome to Mr. Smelly's Fragrance Reviews. So today we're going to be looking at two fragrances. It's Pineapple Vintage and Pineapple Vintage Noir, both from Parfums Vintage. So, these two fragrances are both replicas of Aventus. The original Pineapple Vintage is supposed to represent more fruity batches, whereas the Noir version represents the somewhat smokier batches of Aventus. I've done a first impressions video where I was really impressed with both, but now I've given them some more wearing, so I'm ready to do a full review. The story behind this one then, they came from research on base notes, extensive research with different batches being tested by base notes reviewers until they found, hopefully, the best batch that was going to be the fragrance. But it was pretty much even in how much people like these two batches that they've gone with. So one of them has turned out to be Pineapple Vintage, the other one is Pineapple Vintage Noir. The perfumier is Damien Stammers. He's from the UK, and I've been talking with him. He's been kind enough to send me 2 bottles for review, so thanks very much for that. And what's really impressed me is his passion. He really cares about this fragrance, and he's gone all out to spare no cost with the ingredients, he tells me. So we've got really high quality ingredients, so this should be a step up from things like Club de Nuit Intense Man and the other cheaper clones that are made in the Middle East, some of which are very good. So this does need to be excellent to be worth investing in, because it's around about $100 odd for 100 mils. You can also get a 5 ml sample of each for very reasonable prices if you're lucky enough to live in the USA and UK, which is where it's available at the moment. They're hoping to change that soon. So let's get stuck into it. The box is really nice. I don't like to spend long on presentation, but that is a lovely box, I must say, and there's a brilliant picture on the back there. I think it's George V of England in a theatre spraying some perfume, and a pineapple picture is there, so that's rather interesting. Now, let's get stuck into how these ones actually smell then without further ado. So first of all, we're going to kick off with Pineapple Vintage. The bottle's also very attractive with a gold thing there, and the wooden lid is pretty good, so I like that. So, wow, okay, so the amazing thing about this one is the crispness and the realism of the pineapple note. It's absolutely fantastic. It's beyond anything I've experienced in any batch of Aventus that I've smelled, and that's the real key selling point for me of this fragrance. It's beyond Aventus in its pineappleness, okay? So there are cheaper clones, some of which are almost just as good as Aventus. Al Haramain by La Venture for me is practically the same as my Aventus after a few minutes, and there are other ones. Al Dur Al Maknoun is pretty similar and has some of the elements really nicely covered in that fragrance. Similarly, our Maths Club de Nuit Intense Man I've been sampling doesn't smell much, it doesn't smell that close to my batch of Aventus, but it does get in the ballpark. It has great performance, and I can see how it gets compliments. So they're all great choices. The selling point for Pineapple Vintage then has to be that it offers something that those don't, and it does. It offers a much crisper, more natural smelling, fresh opening, quite a stunning opening in Pineapple Vintage, the original classic version. It's actually beyond the pineapple notes that I get in Aventus. It's actually surpassed that in its crispness, in its wow factor, in the extent to which it grabs you by the nostrils and says, hello, I smell fresh. So I think that's the brilliant thing about this one. As the fragrance develops, it does do some other things. There is complexity here. I can't claim to pick out all the notes. I'm not a big expert perfume analyst who's got a huge fragrance collection. So there may be other people who pick flaws in this new fragrance that I can't perceive. But for me, it does develop really nicely. It smells very fresh and very natural throughout, and clings on to that pineapple freshness throughout the life of the fragrance, which is really quite amazing. And when you smell it on your shirt collar the next day, it's still there, it's still fresh, it's still crisp. I've had some compliments. There are people in my local grocery store who know I'm the fragrance guy, and one of them, I walked past him when he was working there, and he said, wow, what are you wearing today? That is really fresh. So I don't get a lot of compliments. So the sillage trail this leaves seems really good. Performance has been been excellent. My female friend, who you may have seen in some of my other videos, my fragrant friend Claire, has commented also that the sillage that she gets on this is really, really strong and impressive. So I think the overall conclusion that I'm giving you on Pineapple Vintage is it's well worth trying out a sample of this and the other one, because it's extremely nice, and if you love Aventus, this gives you something very similar, and that's why it might be worth investing in the fragrance when it's not super cheap. Pineapple Vintage Noir then, what's the difference? That's a key question, isn't it, for people? So the Noir version, again, it's a staggeringly crisp and brilliant pineapple note. It's got all the good things that you might like about the Pineapple Vintage with the white packaging, but the Noir version with its black box here, and similarly lovely picture on the back, is a little bit more smoky, and the pineapple thing is just maybe a notch down. It's still very pineapple centric. It still lives up to the name Pineapple Vintage. Where does the noirness come in? Yes, that smoky element is brilliantly done. It smells very, very natural. If you really dig your nose in with things like Club de Nuit Intense Man, maybe that smokiness just feels a little bit more synthetic. I could be imagining it. With this, you can't say that. It's definitely really beautiful and crisp and smoky and balanced. For a lot of people, I think the Noir version will be closer to their idea of how Aventus should smell. To be honest, not necessarily a really smoky batch, but just a sort of medium batch, or maybe even a fruity batch. They will find that this seems closer, I think, to Aventus that they've smelled. So for many people, they're going to want to go with the Noir version. I wouldn't rule out the original though, because that crispness, that freshness is stunning, and that's what's really mesmerized me about that one. Both of them are excellent though, so I think you should definitely sample both if you can, and choose which one you prefer. If you've got plenty of money, you might end up getting both. I am stunned by these two fragrances, and that's why I'm talking about them. I was lucky enough to be given free bottles. I hope that hasn't biased me very much, but I really do try and give honest opinions, and I think you can probably tell my enthusiasm here is real. I'm excited because I do enjoy Aventus clones, and I think this may be that idea that's super Aventus. Someone's taken Aventus and gone a bit further than Aventus actually ever went, and I think that's the exciting thing. So for me, Aventus is about a 9 out of 10 fragrance. It's not my favourite fragrance in the world, but I really like it. La Venture by Al Haramain is really good. It's an 8.5, just below Aventus because the opening isn't quite so brilliant. Al Dur Al Maknoun, I'm just looking into it. It's certainly nice. It doesn't smell that close to Aventus, but it is in the ballpark, and it has a really nice opening and a nice kind of smokiness. Maybe a little bit synthetic, but good. So probably an 8 out of 10 for me. Club de Nuit Intense Man, 7.5 for me, because I find that it doesn't smell that brilliant. It does project strongly though, and I think it will get compliments. These two then, Pineapple Vintage and Pineapple Vintage Noir, I would happily and comfortably give each one of these 9 out of 10. So level with Aventus for me. The only question is, do you want that pineapple note to be so much accentuated in your Aventus, or would you prefer the original Aventus where it's in there but it's perhaps more balanced? The Noir version still has more pineapple to me than Aventus, but all the other stuff that we love is there too. It's a little bit different probably to any batch of Aventus because they're all different, aren't they? So copying Aventus is like trying to nail jelly to a wall. It's impossible because there are so many batches and they're all different, but it's brilliant and it's right up there. Pineapple Vintage, the original, I think it's just taken that fruitiness way beyond any batch of Aventus, but I love it, and it might even just slightly be my favourite. So that's my verdict so far. Brilliant fragrances, definitely a must check out for Aventus fans out there, and they are a little bit more expensive than a designer fragrance, certainly more than other Aventus clones, but they're less expensive than Aventus, and I think they're really well packaged. They're great things to have in your collection, and I do think that they smell extremely high quality. But I am not a trained nose, just a fragrance fan. Do remember that. So other people may have different opinions, but for me, love them both and would highly recommend everyone to check out these two great new fragrances. And thank you very much, Parfums Vintage, for what you've done here.